It's 1979 in Alaska. A group of lumberjacks is going home after a day's work when something inexplicable happens. One of the trucks is lifted up in the air by an invisible force and then violently dropped. Carl Meissner comes out of the second truck to check it out and sees a large hovering disc in the sky. He tries to run away but gets beamed up, paralyzed. Then we fast forward to the present and meet our hero, Isaac Cypress. He's a computer engineer at the NASA Jet Propulsion Laboratory. And this is Beck, his equally nerdy coworker. Beck tells him about a signal they've picked up. It seems to be coming from Canada, but there aren't any grounded satellites in that area. Isaac is intrigued, but they must get back to their actual work. At the end of the day, a message pops up on the computer screen to inform that a file was received. It was not possible to identify the sender. On the weekend, Isaac goes for a hike and decides to try something that his therapist suggested, a video diary. He begins to talk about the city and his job, and then abruptly stops speaking. Grabbing the camera, he points it at the sky to film what looks like a ball of fire on its way down. The response is immediate. All sorts of emergency services are now swarming the location. Isaac hides in the bushes before someone comes to tell him that there's nothing to see here. And right now, that could not be further from the truth. There is a giant spinning disc partially hidden by the hills. And then it simply disappears, as if someone had pressed delete. Isaac puts down the camera. A chilling sensation makes him turn around slowly. There is an alien standing right there. It's a pretty standard one, bald, grayish, and bug-eyed. More shocking than that is the fact that Isaac tries to film it instead of running for his life. But when the alien turns around, he finally comes to his senses and starts to run. The meteorite is the hottest topic in Los Angeles all weekend. On Monday, everyone at the lab gets an assignment related to that. Except for Isaac, who doesn't show up for work. It's Tuesday evening when he wakes up near that same spot. The camera is right next to him, and the footage is all there. In fact, there's even an extra scene that is obviously new to Isaac himself. It shows his own feet dangling in the air while the distance to the ground keeps growing. From that moment on, strange things occur around him from time to time. Objects vanish before his eyes and then suddenly return. But by the time he gets back to the lab, he's kind of controlling the phenomena and excited to show off his superpowers. He furiously stares at an empty glass until it disappears. Beck remains unimpressed and maybe a little concerned. When Isaac narrates what just happened, he begs to differ. The glass reappears when Beck picks it up, and for him, it was there all the time. Isaac is frustrated, but he still has a smoking gun. He shows the footage to Beck, and at least they seem to see the same thing here. But his friend's reaction is very disappointing anyway. When another colleague arrives, he begins to talk about work stuff with her, as if he hadn't seen an extraterrestrial individual just now. That makes Isaac so distressed that he has a monumentally bad idea. He uploads the video to a popular website. When he wakes up in the morning, there are dozens of missed calls on his phone. His inbox is overflowing. Everybody wants an exclusive interview. So he picks one person. It's a reporter named Christine Schaefer, and she's thrilled to have him on the show. After they play the video and Isaac tells his story, she begins to attack him. Brutally questioning every detail in the story, she barely gives him a chance to explain anything. Isaac becomes a celebrity almost instantly. Some people praise his editing talent, saying that this particular hoax must be making headlines for a reason. There's even a random guy that comes forth to say he helped manufacture the video. Desperate and angry, Isaac decides that he deserves a jury of his peers. Searching for alien abductions, he carefully selects the cases that have any similarities to his own. He contacts a girl named Sarah, and she agrees to meet him. While he waits for her, several objects begin to levitate in slow motion. They snap back into normal when the waitress shows up. She didn't see it, or didn't care. Hard to tell these days. When Sarah arrives, she looks very uncomfortable about this. Isaac then begins to dump all his research on her. Surprisingly, that makes her relax a little. She even contributes with a specific case. a man named Carl Meissner, who was abducted in Alaska decades ago. The man went missing right after going public. Later on, Isaac is approached by an independent blogger named Keith Oberman. He wants a chance to develop the story from Isaac's point of view. After considering the offer for a few days, Isaac decides to stop by his office. Thrilled to see him, Keith says he has an idea. Passing a lie detector test could give the story a lot more credibility. Isaac agrees to take the test, not finding it strange that a blogger has access to a state-of-the-art polygraph. He has no problem passing the test. And that's exactly what triggers a visit by the men in black. He wakes up in a government facility, closely watched by two guards that look like stormtroopers. There is a TV in front of him, and at this point, we're fully expecting Jigsaw. But it's just another agent. His name is Graves, and he looks eager to dig a few. Speaking directly to Isaac, he explains that people meet aliens all the time. This is just a routine evaluation, no biggie. Isaac agrees to the tests. But when they ask him about Carl Meissner, he realizes they have interrogated Sarah as well. He demands to see her and begins to protest. Agent Graves gets so angry that he forgets to mute the mic for a moment. Isaac hears him mention British Columbia as Carl's presumed location. Determined to put an end to this nonsense, Isaac breaks free and smacks one of the guards. The sticky goo dripping from his face reveals that the guards are actually androids. Sarah is strapped to a chair in the next room. Isaac comes to free her, and they run away. When they manage to find the exit, a colorful wagon is passing by, and it conveniently says Costa Rica. So Isaac musters all his Spanish to talk to a bartender. She gives them directions to find a guy named Zed. Finding him is not too hard, but earning his trust is a different story. Luckily, the androids come for them at the right moment. Zed is instantly inclined to help them now. If they're running from the agents, they must be okay. He takes them to his place, which is more of a hideout than a home, and agrees to help them. While he tries to find something about Carl, Sarah finally opens up about her past. She was abducted a few years ago and went missing for 2 days. Nobody believed her story. Her own family thinks she just ran away and changed her mind. Zed interrupts them to say Carl went off the grid about 30 years ago. He can't find anything at all. Isaac tells him to pull up the NASA satellite and get the GPS coordinates for that persistent signal from Canada. It's a cabin in the woods, 60 miles from anything else, and it's in British Columbia. It has to be him. An old man answers their video call. After 3 decades evading all kinds of authorities, he's not happy to be found by these kids. But then Isaac begins to explain what happened, and this time he mentions that file he received, the one with an unknown source. Carl is very interested in that file, so Zed quickly hacks into NASA and grabs it for him. That's when we find out what Carl has been doing all this time. He has built a system of integrated devices to convert alien signals into audio and then translate that to plain English. The file is decoded in a few seconds. A robotic voice announces a visit on October 21st at 4 p.m. That's 5 days from now. Now Isaac is determined to be there too. Sarah is still traumatized, but he says this is the only way they can move on. Nobody actually invites Zed, but he's obviously dying to go. And who else would find a teenage, inexperienced pilot to fly them there at such short notice? Miraculously, they get to British Columbia in one piece. Carl receives them with a shotgun. Before letting them in, he makes sure to deactivate the tracking implants they didn't even know they had. The aliens are coming in 2 days, so there's time to get to know each other a little bit. Carl tells him about the abduction and how he was treated after that. He's been working on the translation process ever since. On Thursday, the entire cabin begins to rattle at 4 o'clock. Impatient to welcome the guests, Isaac walks into the woods and then halts suddenly. There's an alien standing behind him again. Next thing we see is a very unusual gathering. The aliens make a sound that is similar to chewing popcorn, but the machine translates the entire conversation in real time. One of them explains that they have successfully conquered every area of knowledge. Now they seek spiritual fulfillment. There is a particular person who seems connected to the origin of everything, and they need to know his name. The alien floods Isaac's mind with images of this person, and he says that the man is Jesus. Grateful for their answer, they begin to remove the devices implanted during the abductions. The alien then tells Isaac he must give up on his quest for irrefutable proof. Earthlings still think that seeing is believing, and not the other way around. This philosophical conversation is rudely interrupted by Agent Graves shouting that the cabin is surrounded. When Carl comes out, he demands to know what happened to Ronald Graves. That's his father, and he was one of the lumberjacks, the only one who didn't return. The alien is still healing Isaac's arm, while Zed is frantically packing. Graves gives the order to take down Carl and Sarah. Seeing the despair on Isaac's face, one of the aliens tells him to focus. By doing that, he is able to channel his powers. He carries Sarah into a sibling dimension, where several other aliens are ready to help. The agents keep firing at them, but Isaac is operating at a different speed. Everyone is gone before the agents can even register what happened. That's gonna be a tricky report to write. 6 months later, we see that they all made it back to our reality eventually. Sarah and Isaac are a couple now, while Carl has teamed up with Zed to start a tech company. And that's a wrap. Make sure to check out more of our sci-fi recaps. Thank you for watching.